Four biggest failures of Israeli intelligence. Hamas invaded Israel on October 7, 2023. This was the worst attack on civilians in Israeli history. How come Israel was caught by surprise? 1. Poor assessment of Hamas's capabilities. The Israelis assumed Hamas couldn't launch a major attack. This is partly explained by a lack of historical precedent. Israel had never been invaded from the Gaza Strip. Gaza has been under Israeli and Egyptian blockade since 2006. Hamas has launched rockets from Gaza before, but those attacks were much smaller in scale. Israel also relied on the Iron Dome and the smart fence. Hamas overran at least one Iron Dome site early on October 7. This created a gap in Israeli missile defense capabilities. The fence was apparently not sufficiently monitored. IDF troops stationed at the border bunkers were poorly armed. Many of them were celebrating Simchat Torah. It's a public holiday in Israel. 2. Miscalculation of Hamas's intentions. To be fair, Hamas's intentions remain unclear to this day, but apart from terror, they clearly intended to take hostages. The hostages are usually used for prisoner swaps. The fate of the hostages is still unknown. Hamas won the election in 2005. Since then, it has gone on an outreach campaign. Hamas leaders sought legitimacy through economic development. Israel wrongly assumed Hamas would remain a political force. This was a serious blunder. Hamas has a large network of underground tunnels. It has been smuggling parts to assemble weapons underground. Israeli intelligence knew about it. In fact, Israel carried out several airstrikes in 2021. The stated goal was the destruction of the tunnels. Yet on October 7, Hamas was able to fire thousands of rockets. That means they had, and possibly still have, vast stocks. Either Israel had missed that fact, or didn't think it important. 3. Disregard for the effects of Israel's policies. Israel pursued a stick-and-carrot approach in dealing with Gaza. On the one hand, it kept up an economic blockade. It closed many of the border checkpoints after 2006. On the other hand, Israel issued work permits to Gazans. Israel was the largest job market for Palestinians, but it didn't work. Economic incentives did nothing to change attitudes. Jewish settlers on the West Bank kept attacking Palestinians. In August 2023, IDF Rear Admiral Daniel Hagari issued a warning. He equated settler attacks on Palestinians to terrorism.
Let there be no doubt, these things spur the civilian Palestinian population to terror. The Jewish nationalist crime and nationalist terror push civilians in the Palestinian Authority, who are not involved in terror, to terror. This phenomenon needs to be addressed.
But the Netanyahu government did the very opposite. They pulled IDF troops from the Gaza fence and sent them to the West Bank. The troops were sent to protect the settlers. Israeli intelligence seems to have ignored these developments entirely. 4. Lack of intelligence assets in Gaza. How could an operation of this scope be planned in secret? Israel was supposed to have a vast intelligence network in Gaza. It has superior signal and electronic intelligence capabilities. But it's this over-reliance on technology that failed them. Hamas was able to plan a complex mission the old way, using no electronic communications. Retired IDF General Amir Avivi puts it this way.
The other side learned to deal with our technological dominance, and they stopped using technology that could expose it. They've gone back to the Stone Age.
Hamas used no phones or computers. They discussed sensitive details in isolated underground bunkers. But this low-tech approach is hardly new.